Hello, my name is Emily, as you may or may not know, and today, guys, it's gonna be a yapping video. A yapping video with a little bit of structure. Okay, I did one of these before when I was talking about dating shows, and you guys really seemed to like it, so I thought, why not why don't I just do it again, right? Sometimes I'm trying to come up with this, like, strong vocabulary word to, like, you know, say sequel or say I'm doing it again. Listen. At the end of the day, it's the end of the day. I'm just doing it again. Because guys, the sun is setting sooner. There's been a flash flood warning for the past 2 days, and I feel an inkling of something setting in. A little bit of S&D, seasonal depression. Seasonal depression is this amazing thing where it's basically you face a challenge every single day, right? The get out of bed challenge. Seasonal depression makes it so that that challenge is either failed or it takes a lot longer to complete, right? So I was like, you know what? I technically, to do my job, I don't have to leave my bed. So I brought you guys with me here. And today we are going to be talking about motherhood. And listen, I know a lot of people in the comments section, they're already calling me mother. Hi, can I speak English? A lot of people in the comment section, they've already been calling me mother. However, we're not talking, you know, motherhood today as in slay mother. We're talking motherhood today as in, like, where are the fruit snacks, mom? I'm late to soccer practice, mom. Mama. You know, Ma, starring Olivia Wilde. No, Octavia Spencer. I just got really scared for a second. Octavia Spencer, right? Yes, Octavia Spencer, our beloved Ma, right? Anyways, today it's going to be, if you can't already tell, this is a lighthearted, goofy video, okay? In, I want to say 90% of my yapping videos, nothing should really be taken seriously, right? But I just want to say that in the off chance that my future child is somehow watching this, just need you to know, Mommy loves you. Baby, if you're watching this, Mommy's just joking, okay? And listen, I know that your mother has said publicly online quite a number of times that she has not wanted to be a mother, but she loves you so much that she ended up changing her mind on a stance that she was pretty firm on. So anyways, I've written down a bunch of my silly little yapping video thoughts about, you know, hypothetical motherhood, and I've sorted them into 3 categories, right? Pros, cons, and miscellaneous, right? Because sometimes my thoughts, they're a little bit here, a little musto gusto, right? And I can't really contain them to a singular pros or cons category, right? Sometimes my thoughts, they can't be bound, right? Me when I'm with a less experienced Christian Grey. He can't bound me. So I think I'm just gonna go back and forth between the pros and cons and then leave all the miscellaneous for last, right? So the first con that I have, I can't imagine having another living thing depend on me to provide them well-balanced meals. I can't even do that for myself 65% of the time. Listen, okay, if the goal were to make any meal, then hey, bada bing, bada boom, I can put some fruit snacks and a donut on a napkin and hand it to my child, right? I can say, hey, little Timmy, open up, right, your mouth, and just throw mini marshmallows in his direction. But to make sure that everyone in the household is getting all of the food groups that they need, and by the way, hi, there's actually a whole pyramid for it, right? And also making it taste good as well. Well, it's a good thing we have today's sponsor, HelloFresh, to help with that. HelloFresh is America's #1 choice for home cooking, and good news, they just doubled the size of their menu to offer 100+ recipes every week. That means bigger portions, double the healthy options, and 15+ high-protein recipes every week. For the culinarily challenged community, hi. Hello, Fresh, right? HelloFresh is focused on making cooking easier, tastier, and healthier. With HelloFresh, you can get all of the ingredients for the recipes of your choice delivered fresh straight to your door, okay? That means no more trips to the grocery store, no more trying to wrangle your way to the produce aisle and then stand in lines that are so long it feels like you bought a ticket for a meet and greet with the cashier. And it also means less food waste, okay? And this is one of my favorite things about HelloFresh, truly, because I cannot tell you how many times I've thrown away half of a rotting onion or a bundle of cilantro because I just like didn't need that much cilantro. They only give you the proportions that you need, so it makes everything so much easier and practically eliminates waste. Also, since they have a vast amount of healthy options, I've been able to not only satisfy my taste buds, but my body as well, so I can better achieve my goals of not only just cooking more often, but my health goals as well. If you are a busy bee, they offer meals that are quick to make, only around 15 to 20 minutes. They are perfect for times when you're on the go. I've made some of their quick meals and then saved the other half for later, so it's essentially like it took me only 20 minutes to make 2 full meals. So if you want healthy, easy, and yummy meals, hi, yes, thank you. Make sure to click the link in my description below and use my code NOTEVENEMILYHF to get 10 free meals plus free breakfast for life. For life! Free breakfast! Okay, plus 10 free meals. I don't think you want to miss out on that. I really don't think you do, right? And thank you to HelloFresh for sponsoring today's video. And now, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Back to the stuff about cooking, because it is a pretty significant part of raising a child. And the older I get, the more I understand my parents or parents in general, right? Because obviously the older you get, the more you have to take on adult responsibilities like feeding yourself. Thinking about how laborious it feels to even cook for yourself, cooking for your whole family, and then your kid has the nerve to be like, can we get pizza instead? Okay, and then what are we gonna do with all of this food? We can get pizza if you walk 3 miles to the homeless shelter and then give them all of the perfectly good food that I made. How about that? Actually, maybe we could just donate. That would be a net positive, right? Because we're giving away the food to people who need it, and then we also get to have pizza. That was a bad example. But you understand what I'm saying, right? Mom, why can't we get Chipotle instead? Why can't you appreciate the sustenance that came from the bare hands that brought you into this mortal realm, okay? You might not appreciate, the piece of art that's standing in front of you. That does not negate the effort that me talking in riddles to my 8-year-old son who just doesn't like meatloaf. But I was very much so raised, you eat what is served to you, and I don't know if that creates an unhealthy relationship with food. I think a lot of things can do that, turns out, right? But I was raised, yes, you eat what is served to you, or you at least goddamn pretend, right? I remember when at my family house, right, around our kitchen table, there was this sort of like bench thing, and you can lift up the lid of the bench, and there's like storage in there for like, I don't know, newspapers or things of the like. And my parents, when they would give us vegetables, right, because pretty important thing for a kid to have, we would eat maybe like 1 piece of broccoli, and then we would secretly, I kind of like don't even remember how we would do this. We would secretly, while we were sitting on the bench, lift our butts up so that we could lift up the lid of the bench, and we would put in the rest of the vegetables under the seat of the bench. And then I remember we were getting away with it for pretty long, but then obviously food, it's gonna go ahead and do this thing called rot. And my parents were kind of like, what is that fucking smell? Or they didn't say the F word, but they were just like, what is that smell? And then they lift up the bench, high science experiment, high mold, high mildew, high maggot, no, not maggots, but, and they were like, oh, so we thought that you and your sister were getting the appropriate amounts of, iron and vitamin D. Turns out it was all under the bench. And at the age I'm at now, I really do feel for my parents, because I'm sorry, if I was like, what is that putrid smell? And then I lift up the lid to, one of our seating arrangements in the kitchen, and I see, oh, that's the vegetables from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, holiday weekend as well. So why did you do that? Like, how come I'm opening up this bench and it looks like an open casting call for a VeggieTales movie in here? You were supposed to eat that. you know? So yeah, I feel like having a kid or if you have a kid who's like a really picky eater, that also must be like, I mean, it's like at the end of the day, if you're eating chicken nuggets for months and months in a row, at least you're eating something. But at the same time, that's really not optimal. But now, let us flip the switch to a pro, right? One of the most prominent yet selfish reasons people have kids is because they find it to be an investment into avoiding loneliness in their old age or having a safety net of caretaking. Now listen, this is a pretty self-centered sentiment. I wouldn't say that this is a reason you should have kids. You know, I don't think that you should get pregnant with the thought of, oh, well, now that I'm pregnant, you know, after I give birth, I kind of have this inbred, no. How do you say, like, in family, in a resource. You have a resource. You know, now you have this resource, this sort of answer to the question of, when I get older and my joints ache and I can't find my arthritis medicine, who's gonna stir my applesauce for me, right? When your legs don't work like they used to before, I will have a child and then they will wheel me around. So yes, obviously that's not a good reason, but if you truly did want to have kids, it would be a pretty legitimate cherry on top, right? Because I do have to admit, you know, yeah, like if I don't end up having kids, when I get older, like, yeah, I'll probably be lonely if the world hasn't fucking exploded by then. It's like, ideally, of course, I would have my wife, right? But if we're both old as bones, it's kind of like, okay, so who's gonna be taking care of who? If I'm pissing myself due to a lack of bladder control and you're pissing yourself due to a lack of bladder control, then who's gonna drive us to the CVS to get adult diapers? I can kind of barely drive as it is right now. Can't imagine how it would be when I'm 87 years old. And then, yeah, if you don't have kids, you might just be sitting at home literally being like, so what the hell are we gonna do now, right? I'm about to just hop on Omegle to just have someone to talk to. Or I don't know, maybe when our generation gets older, because our generation, you know, does seem to be, you know, a little bit more active, I think, about community, or, you know, social media has made it so that we're seeing how many people are trying to be active. Who knows, maybe when we're all older, there'll be like some sort of, like, queer POC bingo night in Bushwick, and then everyone, there's a bunch of like elderly people who are doing bingo night in Bushwick who are queer and POC. You know, that's actually a good idea. I know that it's a little far in advance, but guys, I will be hosting in about 60 years a queer POC bingo night. Or perhaps, you know what? No, in 60 years, I will host a queer POC you know, gay music video screening. Everyone votes on a bunch of different music videos, and we, as old elderly gay people, will just like watch some of the music videos that we watched in our youth. That actually sounds really nice. It started out as a joke, and now I'm like, I gotta make this fucking part of a link. Okay, back to a con. Pregnancy. I don't really even think I have to elaborate. If I did not have to go through pregnancy in order to have my own biological child, that would make it a lot more appealing. Not enough for me to do it without a heavy heart, but it would make it more appealing, certainly by a metric. Pregnancy, it's really crazy to think about. Sometimes when I see a pregnant woman in public, which, first of all, let's wake this up, I haven't been seeing many pregnant women. I can really sense that the birth rates are down. I feel like I used to see them a lot more often, and now it's like kind of like a rare sighting. Like, it's almost like I see more natural gingers than I see pregnant women. And I feel like before, that ratio used to be flipped for me personally. And I don't blame us for not wanting to get pregnant, because first of all, my lower back hurts sometimes just for the hell of it. I cannot imagine how bad my back would be hurting if I was essentially wearing a front-facing backpack 24/7 for 9 months straight that could also kick me from the inside. Hello? And you know, I always wonder what that feels like. I can't imagine getting ready in the morning and you literally see a human being rustling and tussling, jostling and justling like it's Fight Club in your uterus, and you just are looking at it like, oh yeah, there's something in there, I guess. Like, it literally blows my mind. I mean, I think the closest I've ever felt to that, I guess, is indigestion. Like, sometimes when I eat a lot of hot pot, or God forbid, if you get me into that hot pot Korean barbecue, you know, combo, some K-pot, right? Oh, good Lord. Yeah, it's gonna feel like High Twins. It's gonna feel like High Octomom cosplay. And sometimes after you eat a lot, your stomach does kind of churn in this way where it almost feels like there's something sentient in there, but really it's just like the Szechuan broth, right? So I can only imagine that having a baby inside you, I mean, I'm like trying to think, I'm like, okay, put yourself in those maternity shoes, right? Imagine you had Szechuan broth and then it grew limbs. And then me trying to explain pregnancy. I'm like, imagine if you were at a hot pot and you ate a bunch of enoki mushrooms and then all of those enoki mushroom tendrils combined to form limbs, arms and legs. That's kind of like what pregnancy's like. And also, hi, I'm a back sleeper. And it's not ideal to be sleeping on your back when you're pregnant because, little nursing moment, hi, hello, how are you? The baby's weight, right, can compress your inferior vena cava, which is, you know, the vein that brings blood back to your heart. So if it's compressed, obviously not as much blood is getting back to your heart and circulating the rest of your body, so then you can have poor circulation. That, combined with the fact that sleeping on your back can increase the chances of sleep paralysis, right? So I'm just gonna be laying in bed dizzy with my sleep paralysis demon kind of fading in and out of my vision. It's like my sleep paralysis demon is gonna be tap dancing on top of my pregnant belly, acting like an upstairs neighbor to my unborn fetus, right? And while I have no choice but to lay there like an undead trout, undead means alive, you know, laying there like a limp, paralyzed trout, just sort of taking it, you know? And I know what some of you are thinking, Emily, why don't you just sleep on your side then? And I'd say, it's a pretty good suggestion. I'd probably have to do that, wouldn't I? Oh, and then here's something fun to think about, right? The only thing that could pull me and my baby out of this sleep paralysis, you know, demon doing an Irish jig into my, you know, foot getting stuck in my belly button, right, is the urge to vom voyage. Morning sickness. It's a terrible way to start out your day, right? It's like, yeah, first, you know, get ready with me morning routine pregnant edition. I literally yank myself out of my slumber, literally detach my soul leaves my body, and I rush to the bathroom to projectile vomit at such a velocity that it could be used to power wash the side of a building. Like, that would just get old so fast. And I know that doesn't last, you know, morning sickness doesn't typically happen throughout like the entire pregnancy, but it would be happening enough to the point where I would be like, I'm fucking over this. I'm so over this. This has fucked up the entire feng shui. The feng shui is askew, bitch. Oh, I also saw this video that was supposedly a video of, you know, a woman's womb while she was laughing. Let's just say that baby was shaken, not stirred. Right? It was crazy. It looked like that baby was on vibrate. And I don't think this harms the baby in any way, but listen, I love to laugh. I love laughing, right? I say that like, I said that like I'm possessed. I love to laugh. Sounds like I'm making a confession that I have to have my hand on the Bible. I swear I love to laugh. I've always done it. I've done it many times before. I watched a comedy movie while pregnant. My baby would feel like they were inside one of those freaking boba machines that shakes the fuck out of your drink before it's served to you, right? You know, my baby's gonna be, you know, in my womb thinking, why the fuck do I feel like a taro milk tea with extra tapioca pearls and lychee jelly? You know, depending on how much I laugh during pregnancy, when my baby comes out of my womb, its first words are going to be, whoa, 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 whoa! Because it's the first time that it's ever had stable ground before. Back to a pro. I would have plenty of pictures of myself so my child could post those videos online where they basically show off how hot I was in my youth. MILF allegations, which would turn into fact with proper evidence. I will have a USB full of my best selfies. And when my kid reaches a certain age, I will hand it to them and I will say, do with this what you will. Because I feel like now when people's parents go viral for being attractive, as much as the parents can be like, oh, yik yak, tic tac, I don't really care about all that stuff, I don't follow all that stuff, I'm sure deep down they're like, so I'm attractive, so people think that I'm hot, right? Though I guess since they're literally adults and there's so many kids on TikTok, I guess you wouldn't really pay much attention to, because even for me, it's like if a 15-year-old thinks I'm hot, that's kind of none of my business and I don't want to think about that, you know? But it is always a nice feeling to have your baddie-dom, be acknowledged. I do feel like our kids would have a much greater plethora of media to sort of remember us by or like see what we were like in our youth, right? I feel like right now for us, we mainly have, like digital pictures or, camcorder home videos of our parents, but our kids, oh, honey. With the way social media is now, our kids will be able to know a lot about us, right? Like your kid might be able to know that, oh, my mama was craving frozen yogurt on July 6, 2022, and I know that because she tweeted it. And not only can you have still images, right? I mean, lots of people's Instagrams are essentially a vanity scrapbook at this point. I sure as hell know mine is. We will have videos, right? Like, there are some of the best thirst trappers of our generation will be able to, further their prosperity, and their children will be able to see that mummy used to post thirst traps of, her sort of squeezing her cleavage together and doing doe eyes at the camera with the caption, like when he has commitment issues and wears rings, right? And she's talking about your daddy. Okay, back to a con, right? Back to a con, Conrad Fisher. Sleepover anxiety. Listen, the idea of my child at another person's house, I don't even have kids, and that is giving me some, it's making my heart and there's the cops. I called them because, oh my God, my child is missing. My baby is missing. But really, she's just at Kendra's house. I wouldn't want to be a mom that would not allow my kid to have sleepovers at all. But I need to know that family from the inside out. I need to somehow engross myself into the soil of their family tree. I need to be so close with this other pair of parents that we could damn near be swingers. Okay? I'm asking questions like, okay, you want to go over, have a sleepover at Kendra's house, their parents, or Kendra even per se, if you had to describe them in 5 words or less, what would those words be? Who did they vote for? Are we comfortable enough with each other to explore each other's bodies? And I don't know, maybe this is bad because it kind of negates efforts to make community and things like that. But it is like, I'm not a very easily trusting person, right? So if you're sleeping over at somebody's house, it's like, I need to okay, when are they available for a meeting? You know what I mean? Like, I need to make sure you're not fucking freaks, especially if oh my God, God forbid, but if the dad's kind of weird or there's an older brother and older, or just boys in the house, things like that. If something were to happen to my daughter or my son, whoever, right? And it doesn't really matter the gender. If there was a fucking freak in the house, it doesn't matter if they're a boy or a girl, man or woman. But oh my God, if something ever happened, I should be allowed to attack you with a knife. I just feel like I can't be responsible for my actions. If you're a parent and someone harms your child, you should be able to tase them at least once and also like kick them while they're down. That should be okay. I should be able to go to your residence, punch you in the face at least once, maybe even stab you, right? I should be able to do that. Take your air fryer and then leave without any consequences. Now a pro, getting to see your child's first steps or first words, girl, I'd be gagged. Right. Watching your baby take their first steps must be a crazy, crazy, cuckoo bananas feeling. I feel like the only thing that I can even remotely relate to in terms of that is there's this monkey on TikTok called Xing Xing. And whenever Xing Xing like eats a piece of fruit or something, like I do feel a lot of joy and I get really like enamored with her. And I can only imagine that that is only a fraction of what a parent feels when they see their own flesh and blood taking their very first steps on solid ground for the first time. Yeah, I'm thinking that it probably doesn't even compare. And also another thing, now talking about your baby's first words, right? I feel like low-key, if you don't have a keen ear, that could be easy to miss, right? Because babies, they, you know, are just saying like a bunch of hullabaloo, right? You know, babbling as one does. And most of the time that babbling is not going to be coherent, but I feel like sometimes there could be something that could be construed as a word slipped in there, and then you kind of have to be like, wait, what did you just say? Right? Like, if you have a baby and they're kind of being like, and it's like, what? Did you just say mama? Because obviously babies' first words are always on par with like their development and how much they can enunciate in those moments. So the babbling, the words that they're able to say also still kind of sound like babbling. Like a baby isn't going to be like recycling. Usually first words are dada, mama, which first of all, listen, parenthood community, don't get mad at me. I don't really think dada is a word. Papa, but dada, mama. Yeah, I get it because people say that, you know. I feel like I would be more impressed if the baby's first word was a word that can like be used past the ages of like 10, right? I'm not over here calling my dad Dada, right? I call him Papa, and even step further, I graduated from Papa and I call him Papaya now. That is what I call my dad. And listen, I do not want to downplay any baby's accomplishments, right? Mama, yes, totally I get it. Dada, I understand, but you're on thin ice. Time for a Conrad Fisher. Kids are expensive and it's only going to get more and more expensive. And I think that this is one of the largest deterrents to people in my age demographic to having kids, right? We can barely afford to feed ourselves, right? Let alone taking care of a family of 4. What the hell are you talking about? I can only imagine for parents right now, if you have, I don't know, like growing teenage boys, grocery shopping would damn near require a loan, right? You blink and suddenly $250 is gone. Sometimes when I go grocery shopping, I see people who are loading up their grocery carts like we're on the brink of a zombie apocalypse, and I'm thinking to myself, is there something that I missed on the news this morning? And then I remember, oh, they probably just have kids. Or they're just really hungry. Or there's this specific type of stroller that I always see a lot of people using, and I just got curious for some reason and I Googled how much it was. It's over $1,000. What is this, fucking Noah's Ark? Why is it over $1,000? Like, this shit better come with a force field and a rocket launcher. And another thing, you know, obviously everyone wants their kids to have like passions or, you know, to like, I don't know, have interests and stuff like that. But unless your child's interests are blinking, digesting, converting oxygen into carbon dioxide, it's gonna cost money. So yeah, I feel like a long time ago, a girl of my age would literally be panicking and being like, I'm a fucking spinster. I'm a spinster. I haven't found a man and I haven't, pushed out at least 3 kids. What the hell am I doing with my life, right? Whereas now, a lot of people my age, and it also could be the city that I live in, right? It's like, yeah, no, we can't have kids right now because, hi, I'm a creative director, right? Like, no, I can't have kids right now. I'm trying to get this podcast off of the ground so that I can eat something besides Kraft mac and cheese and just like the thought of, maybe having sushi at some point. I remember when I did my labor and delivery nurse I did not do my labor and delivery nurse. I misworded that. I remember when I did my labor and delivery rotation as a nursing student, and there really is something special about holding a new baby. I can't imagine how it would feel to hold your own baby. I was so fascinated and enamored holding someone else's. And I remember distinctly, like, I don't have a lot of experience with babies. I'm the oldest out of like all of my cousins and all of those things. No one in my family of the young people are having kids. But I remember holding the baby and just feeling this overwhelming sense of like, whoa. It's so crazy holding a baby and looking into its eyes and being like, you have no clue what's going on right now. You have no idea everything that's happened, Like, you know what I mean? Like, this baby, like, you have no idea that Will Smith slapped Chris Rock at the Oscars. You have no idea that Ariana Grande licked that donut. That was multiple years ago, and I remember that to this day. And that baby is like, a toddler now, or maybe even a little bit older than a toddler now. And it's so odd to think about, that they probably don't remember me literally at all. Or it would be crazy if like 20 years from now, I get this person that comes up to me like, oh, hey, Emily, yeah, you held me during your labor and delivery rotation as a nursing student. I remember you because you had a staring problem. Con. If I had a kid, I fear for their brain development because of AI, iPads, and the like. Here's the thing. It's a lot easier said than done, obviously. When I used to babysit this one kid, oh my God, it would be so easy to just sit him in front of the TV and have him watch like a Lego unboxing, right? But I would want to try and limit the amount of technology my kid would use, ideally. I am hearing stories about parents or teachers where it's like, I heard a anecdote from a teacher where they were saying that one of their students was trying to pinch and zoom in on their book, or was trying to swipe on their physical book instead of turning the page. I'm scared. I already started getting, and there will be an absolute non-negotiable no AI rule in my household, right? If you want to do your math homework, I fear that is going to have to be your prerogative. You better channel the spirit of Einstein himself, because you are not touching a chat GPT, right? Or if you are having trouble writing your essay, you're gonna need to contact Ernest Hemingway via Ouija board before you ask OpenAI. Okay, that one felt a little short, so I'm going to be talking about another con, right? Figuring out the balance between bestie vibes and tiger mom, especially during the teenage years. Obviously, this is all hypothetical. There's no way to know whether my teenager would act like this or not, but I feel like there's a pretty common sentiment amongst parents where they're like, yeah, I'm scared of my own child. There's this sort of like, there feels like there's this distance now. Ever since you turn like 13, 14, all of a sudden I'm in enemy territory and I'm in my own home. And yeah, I get it. When I was a teenager, I definitely kept things from my parents, the gayness mostly. Obviously, I know that kids are going to keep things from their parents sometimes. And I know that they say you're not really supposed to promote a bestie vibe with your kids, because ultimately, you're still their parent, their guardian, and they still should be a little bit afraid of you, I guess. But I have to say, it would be hard for me not to also want that bestie for the restie vibe. I would say, and I even want that with my own mom. Sometimes I'll just randomly say to my mom, like, you know, we're besties, right? Or sometimes even at you know, my big age, I still like holding hands with my mom in public, right? And almost she's the one who's like, woman, don't touch me. But yeah, especially during the teen years, I probably wouldn't be able to go into the mother-child relationship with those bestie vibes, because I feel like when you try to be the cool parent, you just come off as you know, abominably cringe, which I am not trying to do, right? I'm not trying to be, you know, who is that in Mean Girls, you know, like Amy Poehler, like, condoms, anyone? Does anyone need condoms, right? Lube, anyone want lube? Or like that one scene from Pen 15 where that mom is, you know, she's trying to be cool, hip, and you know, have fun with the girls, and she's like, snacks, do you guys want any snacks or quesadillas? I can make quesadillas. And then her daughter goes, we don't want any fucking quesadillas, you oh. Oh.
I can make you guys a quesadilla. Honey, quesadilla.
I don't want a quesadilla, you.
Children are not just an extension of you, but they are their own autonomous beings that are completely separate from you. But at the same time, it is like, I literally pushed you out of my cooter cat, and it would be nice if you could just like talk to me sometimes, you know? Okay, pro. Imagining cheering for your child in whatever extracurricular they desire. I would feel a sense of accomplishment when my Nintendogs would do well in an agility competition. I can't imagine the amount of pure joy and pride you feel when your child, like, I don't know, scores a goal in soccer or something like that. If my own flesh and blood were to score a basket or a goal, I would be one of those parents who my child would be deathly afraid if I were even in the vicinity of the game, right? Because I would be breaking out into a fucking Fortnite dance. And don't get me wrong, I would love my child even if they were not talented whatsoever. I think I would be neutral, I suppose. It wouldn't make me love them less. Okay, let's just say I'm always going to love my child at a certain baseline because they are my child. If they were really, really talented, it's not that I would love them more. It's just that I would have more tangible things to hold on to be overtly proud of. So does that sound bad? It might. Even if my kid was constantly sitting on the bench, I would still be proud of them for being there, I guess. Someone's got to keep it warm. Or like, for example, even if my child was a theater kid, if they were, you know, telephone pole number 3, I would still be like, hey, telephone pole number 3, that's my kid, that's my kid. But then it's also like, okay, well, if my kid is like fucking Elphaba, then I have a little bit more material to show off, you know what I mean? Not saying that kids are supposed to be some sort of trophy to show off. You should love them no matter what. And I think it would be fun as a parent to kind of like help them, you know, build their skills in the thing that they're passionate about. I'm going to be sitting down my elementary school child who is going to be playing Tree number 2 in their production of Little Red Riding Hood, and I'm gonna sit them down and go, so what is your motivation for the scene? What is something that is calling you in from the beyond to get you in this very moment here right now? And then my child is going to say, I don't know, I want a Pop-Tart. Okay, con. If I have a son and he turns out to be a right-wing alpha male, I would descend from my physical form and go to a place beyond anyone's knowledge or recognition. This is genuinely, it would be a fear of mine. It'd be a fear of mine as a mother if I had a son who, despite my best efforts, is being influenced by things online, influenced by other boys at school, that one day he comes home to me and I say, oh, hi honey, how was your day? And he goes, bitch, make me a sandwich. Oh, obviously this is to like a much greater degree. But then I also think about this with like, ooh, it's happening. I'm becoming conscious of how many times I'm saying like. This always happens during a yapping video. Anyways, I'm gonna try and brush that off. When parents have kids who go on to do atrocities, right? You know, make weapons of mass destruction, domestic terrorism, all of those things, that must be so jarring because I raised you. I remember you as a little boy in my head eating jelly beans and, you know, trying to do cartwheels in the living room. And then you grew up to kill people. I didn't tell you to do that. Even when I think about things like adolescence, right? That if I were that mom, I would be, what have you lot done to my son, right? What have you lot done to my son? He was just, I remember that he was just a little boy eating Teddy Grahams, and now all of a sudden he stabbed this girl. What is going on? I would be out of my gourd. I would be, you know, I'd be trying to get your understanding of your understanding of your understanding. Also, I think I'm gonna do the secret code now. The secret code is going to be Kiromi ice cream. Kiromi ice cream. That's a secret code. I actually was given this by some people who knew who I was because, and there is that diabolical fly who has been bothering me every single day and night. Trust you will be dealt with. I got this from people who actually recognized me from one of my short films. And it was one of the first times that I had been recognized actually as an actor and not as a YouTuber. Pro. Birth really is an incredible feat when you think about it, right? During my labor and delivery rotation, I saw a live birth. It is really unlike anything else. And I understand that some people don't want to see live births because like it's so gory. Oh, I don't need to see like, you know, a vagina stretched out like pizza dough. Da, 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 da. That stuff doesn't really bother me. The part that impacted me the most was like, I just saw a human being take their first, see, I'm so stunned that I can't even speak, take their first breath of life ever. I am in the same room as someone who literally just began, who, this is their first moments, like, in this mortal realm. As far as I'm concerned, I know people believe in past lives and things like that, but as far as I am concerned, this is this person's first time on the earth, and I'm here to witness it. And it's so interesting because, giving birth, it's really such an intimate thing, and when you do it in the hospital, you're really just doing it with a bunch of strangers around you, where it's sort of like, obviously you have to get permission for a nursing student to be in the room, like the mom was okay with it, but putting myself in her place, I'm giving birth, and then there's some 19-year-old standing in the corner of the room just sort of watching, where it's almost like you're an apparition. There's an apparition in the corner of the room, and for some reason she's taking notes. But I remember being in a state of awe. And I can only imagine, oh, and then obviously the woman gave birth, and I witnessed the moments where it was the first time she was holding her baby, and like the connection between the mother and child, it feels like they are in their own world and I'm watching from outer space. I cannot imagine putting myself in her place, and it's like being able to hold the most perfect loaf of sourdough bread that has been in the oven for 9 months straight. I've been waiting for this goddamn loaf for 9 months, and now I finally get to hold it, and it's breathing and looking me in the eyes. What the hell? And I feel like so many people go through the process of birth that we kind of forget how fucking crazy it is, right? You know, for example, for me, I don't have birthing hips, I would say. I have more of a humble pencil shape. So that's just the cards I was dealt. So if I gave birth, if I gave vaginal birth, oh, I would never stop talking about it. I would be like, you know how people can always bring up the fact that they ran a marathon? That would be me, right? Hey, I just did a thing. What do you mean I just pushed a human being out of an orifice that doesn't have things of that size in it ever? And some of these babies are humongo bungo Jones. Like, some of these babies are huge. If I gave birth to some of these huge ass babies, the first thing I'm saying it to is, hi twin, why are you as tall as me? Tons of people every day are essentially pushing a butternut squash through a garden hose, and I'm supposed to just pretend like that's not happening. No one's going to acknowledge the squash being pushed through a garden hose in the room. Con, helping my kids with homework. So I fear we're both going to be sitting at the kitchen table confused. I'm sorry, a lot of these math concepts that we learned in school that one time or another I was actually quite good at, we don't use that in real life. There are things literally called imaginary numbers. And let's just say I'm not really having to use that when I'm going to the grocery store or talking to my bank teller. I think I could be a little bit more helpful in the science realm, because although, listen, me and mitochondria, I haven't heard from her in a long time, but trust and believe she still lives in my heart, right? Nucleus, it's been a while, but hey, I could grab a coffee with her. And I guess helping my kids with their homework would also help me enrich my own mind, where it's like, okay, so we both started out this night not knowing what the fuck is going on, and by the end of the night, I'm feeling like I could take this test myself too. Okay, I actually have like quite a few more things written in the pros and cons section, but I'm realizing this video is probably going to be fucking Longoville Jones. So I'm just gonna move on to the miscellaneous. And yeah, I hope you guys have been enjoying the structured yapping video so far. I know that it's been pretty stagnant, but like I said, I actually have spent the majority of today in my bed. So, miscellaneous section of motherhood. I don't even want a beta fish. How am I supposed to want kids? If I don't desire something that only requires flakes and can't even talk to me, something tells me my womb should be vacant for the time being. I have a succulent right now that's barely hanging on, and all I had to do for that was water it 2 to 3 times a week. So something is telling me that I might not be able to take care of an infant that might need a little bit more attention than that. Another thing, while I wouldn't want to publicize my children online for so many reasons, and ultimately I would not do it, I can see why the urge would be there, right? Sometimes I make a really good sandwich and I want to post about it. When I make a nice painting, I want to post about it. If my matcha latte is good enough, I damn near want to call CNN. I could imagine that developing a literal human being over the course of months and months, and then pushing them out of your Vagiana Grande starring as Glinda, right? You would want to hold up this thing like Simba on Pride Rock and be like, look what I made! But the thing about doing that when it's public and can be documented for the permanent record, it's not such a good thing. Not such a good thing, especially with these AI deepfakes coming out, right? We all know why that's a horrifying thing on behalf of children. So I feel like, although the urge would be there, I would need to have a big magnet on my fridge that just says, remember that pedophiles exist. And then I would, think to myself that I don't really need to post this Instagram dump of my child. Maybe the best course of action would be to make a Finsta for your newborn child, where there's only like 13 followers who are your very close family and friends. Yeah, perhaps that's the move. And perhaps that will be the the evolution of Finstas, where it kind of goes from, being in your freshman year of college, posting about how you have a reoccurring UTI from your situationship who keeps, ultimately disrespecting you in very major ways, to posting about little Timmy's first steps. When parents say, I brought you into this world and I can take you out of it. Hi, are you threatening to kill me? Hello? I think that's such a funny thing to say to your child, because it really is like, the next time you say that, I should get it on tape. You know what I mean? When you're saying that to me, it could count as evidence towards something. And again, obviously, I'm not a parent, But I feel like I wouldn't really have the urge. You know, if my child refuses to turn off the TV, I don't think my inclination would to be, hey, so I know that I gave birth to you, but I could also smother you with a pillow until you stop breathing. So it's kind of tomato, tomato, bada bing, bada boom. What are you gonna turn the TV off now? If I ever become a mother, I will not be saying a peep about my own body, because I don't want to be one of those moms who self-deprecate and instill in my children that you're supposed to look a certain way. That's society's job. I'm just kidding. Really though, I feel like so many kids, especially daughters, really internalize the way their mothers speak about their own bodies, right? Where if you have a mom who's like, you know, always talking about how fat they are, or how they hate their cellulite, or how they hate, you know, their nose, or, you know, things like that. And then it's like, oh, okay, well, how am I supposed to feel sitting across from you with the same schnoz that you have? And I also feel like this directly translates to, you know, like almond moms and the way they talk about food, right? Where it's not a bad thing to want to, you know, keep track of your nutrients and your health and things like that. But if, you know, you're saying in front of your daughter, oh, I can't have that croissant because it's going to make me fat, maybe don't do that. Okay, last thing, I'll end with this. It's a little bit vulnerable, just warning you. There are times that I do want kids, but right now I'm too selfish and I don't know when that would go away. If I was going to be a mother, I would need to want it more than just sometimes. I like kids. I think they should have parents who want them. I don't know if I'll be that, and I don't know if I've ever said this out loud before, but sometimes I think that I force into my head that I would be a terrible mother because that makes it easier to squander the part of myself that perhaps does want a child. I think there's times where, for example, I did just see, let me pull it up. I saw this TikTok of a mother, daughter, and father, and they were bringing their kid to the American Girl doll store for the first time.
All right. Oh, don't cry, baby.
Cry after you go be automatic.
You're gonna make me cry. We love you so much.
The daughter, she was so happy, and you could tell that her mom and her father were just so happy to see her so happy, and it was just such a joyous moment. And girl, I hope that you got the perfect American Girl doll that you want. And I was watching it just sort of feeling like, wow, like that does seem nice. Yeah, I don't know. Do any of you feel that as well, where it's like, okay, here's the thing. I think that I would rather regret not having kids than have kids and then regret having them. While I think I'm a good person, I don't know if I'd be a good mother, because I just feel like I've convinced myself that I would be so awful. Yeah, do any of you feel like there's still a part of you that maybe wants kids but is just maybe too scared, or feels like it's going to jeopardize everything? And I feel like, you know, there's this rhetoric of you can be a mom, you can be a career woman, like you can have it all, that sort of thing. And I'm just wondering, maybe that worked for her because she's fucking rich as shit. Would it work for me? I don't know. And I think at the end of the day, I don't want kids. And I'd rather just be a mother and older sister to the internet. I guess that's all I have to say. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was entertaining, even though I kind of just like sat here and talked, but I guess that's kind of what all my videos are. Anyways, thank you for watching. I hope that you get to have a good meal or a yummy beverage, or you get to hug someone who is important to you if you like physical touch. And until next time.